Hello, everybody. Welcome to another review of The Ones Who Lived. In this case, I'm going to be talking about episode 4. And just wow, well, it's a very dramatic, emotionally charged episode, I believe. Michonne, I think, wrote the screenplay for this, and the whole episode, there is action, but there is a lot of and I'm sure you guys saw it if you already watched the episode. There's a lot of back and forth between Michonne and Rick throughout the whole episode. They're basically fighting about whether Rick should stay at the CRM or whether he should leave with Michonne to try to get back to Alexandria, right? So, before we get into the episode, I just wanted to talk about something that I heard over the week, and it's this idea that the CRM, I mean, uh, you know that I think that the CRM is just like another generic villain of the Walking Dead universe. But I heard something that could potentially make them the greatest threat so far, or the threat, which could be that they were actually the ones in charge of starting the virus. Now, I think this comes from the spin off series, The World Beyond or World Beyond. I'm not really sure. If you want to go ahead and tell me in the comments if I'm correct or not, or if this theory is correct. CRM is in charge of starting the virus, and now they're trying to rebuild society. But I don't know if as a way of redemption, or maybe it was their whole plan from the beginning. You know, start the virus, infect people, destroy the world, and now try to rebuild it under their terms. Who knows? Let me know if I'm overthinking things or if that is a possibility. So we start off basically from where we left off in episode 3, which is Michonne throwing herself and Rick off the helicopter, and I guess they landed in water. I thought they were like in some forest or in some jungle, because I remember seeing some trees at the end of episode 3 as they jumped, but it was a stormy night. It was raining, and remember, they were in this helicopter, but they end up in water. And I guess they come up on shore, and they enter like this house. Now, big question mark: is this a smart house? Because there was even like a voice command. There was like a type of Alexa there, and I was kind of like, okay, this is a smart house that has been basically around throughout this whole apocalypse, and it's just all clean, and they justify the cleanliness with Roomsy, which is like this machine that goes around the floor dusting and cleaning. But that wouldn't account for like the dust on the counters or on the pictures or the paintings or the tables, right? Or even on the sofa or the bed in which they have sex in, well, later on. But yeah, I was kind of like, what? They end up in this like hotel room, I guess we could say. It's pretty nice. It's clean. It's modern. It's elegant. I like that setup. I like the set. But they start arguing right away, right? Like Rick's like, "Why'd you push me off?" Michonne's like, "This is not you. What's happened?" And she's her objective throughout the whole. And I saw this in the post episode chats that they have. Michonne basically, or Michonne's character explained that she was trying to basically break Rick, right? Because that's not him. That's not who he was. This kind of like, person that gave up. That's like, yeah, you need to go back, and I'll protect you from here. So Michonne's trying to break Rick, but at the same time, Michonne explains that she's also angry at the fact that he's like that. And if any of you have ever been in a fight with your partner, with your spouse, you know what that feels like. It's like, you're trying to help the person, but you're angry at the fact that they don't get it, right? That they should get it from the start, because she was expecting a different reunion with Rick, right? Probably one where Rick was like, "Oh my God, thank God you're okay. Let's go," right? And that's not the Rick Michonne has. The Rick Michonne has, it's this Rick that's like, "Oh, we got to be careful. Yeah, you're here. That's cool and all, but." I can't just leave and go back with you and our family. And Michonne's like, "What, are you crazy?" Like, so you understand her stance. And so they're in this room, the smart house, and then they start fighting or arguing about whether Rick should leave or not, you know. And I think morning comes, you know, like the next day comes about, and they find out that the helicopter crashed, right? So then they say, okay, we could go now. But Rick is still like, no. Eventually, she even tells Rick about RJ. I think she does that before they find out the helicopter thing, which I think for us fans was like the moment. I think a lot of theories were surrounding this RJ thing, which was basically like if Michonne tells Rick about RJ, that's going to change Rick completely, and he's gonna be like, yeah, let's go, right? Because the way that Michonne tells Rick about RJ is she says kids, she says children in plural, right? And Rick's like, wait, what? We have kids? You know, I thought it was just Judith. And he says, yes, his name is Rick, like you. We call him RJ. Um, and that doesn't really do much for Rick, right? Rick's kind of like, and Michonne gets angry at that. She tells him explicitly, like 2 or 3 times, like, you haven't even asked about RJ, you know. And then she starts telling Rick about RJ, and it might be, I don't know if Rick was, he might have been voluntarily or willingly ignoring the fact that he has a kid with Michonne. But I think to another extent, it could have been the fact that Rick is just so brainwashed by the CRM that he just, I don't think he understood it, right? I don't think he really got the idea. Like, I have a kid, right? Like, he must have just heard it like whatever, right? Like, I have a water bottle, like whatever, it's no big deal. But Michonne, through, I don't know how symbolic this episode is in relation to like the feminine aspect, because I think what really changes Rick is after they have sex. I think that, you know, Rick never says, yes, let's go, I'm with you, I'm 100% convinced and decided that we should escape and we should continue to fight. But he just gets Rick to basically submit, right? Like to just not say anything when Michonne's telling him, let's go. You know, Rick just stays quiet. And I guess that silence is like the resignation or the acceptance of, yes, we have to go, right? Okay, and then there's this scene that I thought was wonderful where Michonne gets angry, right? And she says, you know, whatever, I don't care. If you don't want to come with me, that's fine. She breaks a stick from some lamp. She gets her things and she walks out the door, right? She slams the door, whatever. And she waits in the hallway, right? And it's a very tense moment because you're like, is Rick going to open the door and go after her? And Michonne waits for Rick, right? So, and I thought that was very good, because sometimes when you're fighting with someone and you just can't negotiate an issue, you do have to offer that ultimatum, but at the same time, you're not that serious either, but you have to appear to be serious. So it's like, you know what, if we can't agree on this, I'm out. I'm leaving. I don't care anymore. And you kind of wait for the other person, right, to see if they will say, okay, no, let's talk about it. Let's work this out. Or I guess it's even a manipulation tactic, but it is the ultimatum tactic, right? Where you just say, you know what, I'm leaving, whatever. But then again, what else could Michonne have done? She's constantly telling Rick, like, let's go, and Rick's like, no, 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 and they're both so stubborn, right? They even mention that after they have sex, and they say that RJ's also stubborn or something like that. But anyway, she's out there in the hallway waiting for Rick to come out, and Rick, you know, he approaches the door, you know, wants to put his hand on the doorknob and is hesitant. He's very hesitant. And then Michonne, you know, after waiting for Rick for about what, like 10, 20 seconds, she just leaves. She's like, okay, whatever. He's made up his mind. And as she's walking down some stairs, Rick opens the door and goes after her, you know, and you're like, yeah, okay, so there he is, right? There's Rick. But then they end up fighting some zombies. Michonne gets trapped under a chandelier, and you know it's kind of interesting. No, this is actually after the. No, yeah, they end up fighting some zombies, And I think these were like the little segments of action because most of the episode is drama, right? It's just Rick and Michonne trying to figure things out. But there are some zombie killing scenes which I thought were great. I actually thought this episode was going to be more action because the trailer from episode 3 showed us like them just basically adventuring and going through. But the whole episode they're in this like hotel compound or building. I'm not really sure what it is, but they're there the whole episode. And it's coming down the whole episode. This building is coming down, which I thought was kind of weird because it ends up coming down, but at the end of the episode and the whole time they're in there, like you just hear and see like rubble and scraps coming down, but they're safe the whole time. Um, so yeah, what I thought was interesting was when and funny was when Michonne gets caught, her leg gets caught under a chandelier because the building's coming down and zombies are coming up the stairs, right? Because they're stuck like in these stairs. And Rick is trying to help Michonne out. And it's so funny because Michonne tells Rick, just leave, right? Which is what Rick has been telling Michonne the whole time, like just leave, right? So now it's like the tables have turned and now it's Michonne telling Rick like just leave me here, right? To die basically. And Rick's not gonna do that obviously, right? But he kind of gets a taste of his own medicine, what he's been telling Michonne to do. And if you love someone, you're not gonna just leave because they're telling you to leave, right? You're gonna fight for them. So Rick, he fights for Michonne's life. They're killing zombies. He manages to get Michonne out of the chandelier, and well, he manages to get her leg out of the chandelier, and they go back into the hotel room which they have been in the whole time, and they end up having sex. Right now, for me, this is the point in the episode where Rick goes back to being Rick, right? Um, well, there's another scene that's also very powerful, which is like Michonne basic like Rick's like we gotta go. The building's coming down, and this is towards the end of the episode. And Michonne's like, no, we're not leaving. You have to tell me why are you lying to me, right? Like Michonne's constantly telling Rick that he's lying to her. He's not being true. He's not being real. And I thought it was wonderful his reason for this, which is if you have hope, hope is dangerous. If you have hope and you have high expectations of something and then that something doesn't happen or the opposite happens, you're gonna come crashing down. It's gonna be really bad for you. So it was very sad what he says. He explains that he says they took Carl away from me, right? And this means not physically. This means that he's been there so long that at first he was dreaming about Carl. He was dreaming about his son, right? Which we all know Carl died back in the Walking Dead original series. Um, but he says, I was dreaming about Carl. And then after that, I started dreaming about you, which that's the explanation for his dreams in episode 1. Now, I know many of you thought that Carl was going to come back. He might have made an appearance. And I actually thought the actor was going to make an appearance here, but he didn't. They just showed him as a little kid with Rick from like episode 1 of the original Walking Dead series. But they had their backs to the camera, so you couldn't even see like them. But it might have been them. I'm not really sure. But yeah, he explains that after he stopped dreaming about Carl, Rick started dreaming about Michonne, and those are the dreams that you see in episode 1, right? And it's so sad because after that he stopped dreaming, right? Like basically he lost hope, and this is like so emotional because at the same time it's like spiritual, but at the same time it's real. Spiritual because you can say, well, it's your dream, right? It's what you dream about at night, and it's what makes you happy. It's what makes you happy to think about, but also real because it's your motivation. It's what drives you. It's what keeps you going in life, right? Like the people that you care about. Think about your family. Think about your significant other, or think about your dreams in general. Those are real. They're motivations for your life, for you to get up in the morning and do your things, right? So Rick lost that, and that's why he's in a bad place right now. He is where he is because he's been without his dream for so long, right? And that's just so sad. So yeah, the bottom line is, hoping is dangerous. And the whole time, Rick breaks down, he cries, and the whole time Michonne is so understanding, right? Michonne's like, I get it, I get it. She's just like, yeah, yeah, let it out, like, let it all out, baby, let it all out, right? And Rick's just like bawling, and he's like, yeah, I can't hope, like, he doesn't say those words, but that's the message, right? I can't hope because hoping is dangerous, which I thought was excellent. I was like, yeah, as a fan, I was like, okay, I understand, because you are kind of like, what's the big deal with CRM? Are they like more powerful than we thought? Is there something Rick's not telling us? Is there a conspiracy? Is there some? No, and it's just that it's something so human. It's not wanting to hope because when things don't go the way you planned them to or the way you wish they happen, like in this case, reuniting with his family, and they may even end up killing his family, right? That's Rick's biggest worry. That's gonna shatter you, and he's just basically like, I'd rather just stay where I am, even if I don't have my family, but I at least know they're safe, than willing to put that all on the line, for this dream, right, of reuniting with my family. So yeah, that's basically the episode. And that's the scene that I told you about earlier in this video, where Michonne's just like, yeah, we gotta go, and he just kind of stays quiet, right? Like he says okay, like he says okay, but through his silence, right? Because you could say, well, are they leaving? And then the next scene, you see from the beginning of the episode, they get to this hotel room, and Michonne changes her clothes, right? Like, I think symbolically she takes off the CRM uniform, like, I'm not part of these assholes. And Rick doesn't. There's even a scene where he's like telling Michonne how to conduct herself, or what they have to do, in a very military way, and she makes fun of that, and she's like, okay, commando, right? Like, don't talk to me like that. Like, I'm not one of your army guys. Like, what the fuck? It's me, it's Michonne, right? um but then Rick, he has his uniform the whole episode. But after that scene where he breaks down, where he cries, where he tells Michonne that he's lost his dream, or his ability to dream, we see a new Rick. We see him without his uniform. He has more chill clothes. He has like this blue type of long sweater, I think. And yeah, he's ready to kick some ass. So they leave the place, right? They get into this car, and it's another Rick. He's like, he's happier, he's more chilled. He's like, yeah, we can do anything we set our minds to. We could have the whole world if we wanted to, right? And Michonne's like, whoa, and they're just kissing the whole time. They're on each other. It's great. So yeah, they take off into the sunset. Well, not really the sunset. They just take off. Zombies after them. And yeah, I thought it was a great episode. Not a lot of action. I was expecting more action because of the trailer that I saw back when episode 3 finished or ended. But I think it's almost uncomfortable to watch it because of this, bickering, of this like back and forth hashing out, very realistic, between two people that love each other, right? But that just think differently. It's a very real, raw, emotional episode of how two people that don't agree with each other but love each other have to make it work somehow, right? And it's not. I wouldn't say it's so much about who's gonna win the argument, or who's gonna end up. Are you going to end up doing his will or her will? It's more about, just laying it all out there. They lay it all out there. I think they needed that, because ever since episode 1, 2, and 3, they haven't been able to really talk about everything, and they talk about everything, right? Michonne tells Rick about the fact that she was in the mall for like a year with Nat, right? That she's not really sure if Judith's okay. Rick tells Michonne when he tried to escape, how many times he's tried to escape, about his dream. They just lay it all out there. I thought that was necessary. That was great, and it's very human. It's very real. You can think about times when you've done that in your life, with your significant other, right? I think it's very human. It's a very human episode. So I guess that's all I got for this video. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll be making my next review for episode 5 next week. So I'll see you then. Peace.